One of the biggest debates that's been going on between musicians in the music business is this one simple question. And this one simple question could be the difference between artists who have no idea how to generate revenue for their music business and artists who actually are able to start earning some income, even starting to make a living from their music. So what's this simple question? The question is, what is your product as a professional musician? But I know what a lot of you are thinking. You're probably thinking, Dax, I got this. This is easy. I'm a professional musician, so therefore, music is my product, right? What if that wasn't the right answer? In fact, what if that was the opposite of the right answer? And then even more importantly, what if not understanding the truth and operating your music business from this perspective that music is your product is pretty much a guarantee that you would fail? You'd probably want to figure out the right way of looking at it. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you exactly why music is not your product, what is your product, and how we should sort of look at this whole situation as a professional musician going forward in our music business. Now, some of you may know, I've talked about this before, some of you may know the history of going from physical media to streaming. But just to give you a bullet point, breakdown that's important to our conversation, you have to understand something. A lot of the perceptions about what success looks like in the music business, the big fancy houses and the making a whole bunch of money as a musician and living the rock star lifestyle, a lot of that was funded upon this old music business. And this old music business was pretty much propped up on CD sales or record sales, vinyl sales. Physical media was the number one revenue generator next to like touring for musicians to actually make a living, right? So you have to look out there and start to see that that's where we get our perception of what success looks like, right? We have a lot of people, if I ask them who are your all-time favorites, a lot of people that they mention are in the music business. They came up in the music business during this period, right? But then what happens? The early 2000s hit and we have the introduction of Napster and we have the introduction of LimeWire and FrostWire and all these different streaming companies, well, not really streaming companies, but pirate sites where you go and get illegally downloaded music for free. And so what was happening is there was a huge technology shift, right? Now, what happens with every major technology shift in any business? Consumer behaviors change. And that's what happened in our business, right? Consumers were used to, for decades, buying physical media as the way to consume the music. But now the internet hits, and the sort of democratization of everything, this decentralization of everything, was sort of the goal of the early internet and still kind of is the goal of people who were, proponents of, Web 3.0 and all that kind of stuff, right? And you have to look at it like consumers figured out they didn't have to spend $17 to get 10 tracks, 2 of which they actually liked or cared about, right? They figured they could actually get music for free. Now, that sucks for us because people talk about, well, who cares if Lars Ulrich has to wait a week to get his gold-plated swimming pool rails installed, because of streaming. Well, it turns out that, yes, people like Lars would ultimately be fine. The big hit came to the independent musician, where for the longest time, CD sales, and even in the underground, CD sales for a long time into the mid-2010s were a great revenue source for independent artists coming up because there was still this technological foundation where people could use it. There were CD players in cars. People still had boom boxes. I don't know if you guys remember those. But you get the idea. There was still a kind of structure, an infrastructure for physical media. But over time, once we fully started getting integrated into the Spotify era, things changed. Cars stopped making CD players. We started going to all Bluetooth and all streaming. And because of that, Spotify sort of took the Wild West of the early 2000s streaming and made it a concretized system that consumers could participate in so that it's all above board. You don't have to worry about giving your computer 3,000 viruses just because you wanted to hear the latest Lady Gaga song, right? You didn't have to worry about all that. You could just pay a monthly subscription and have access to pretty much all the music you ever probably downloaded on any of these sites. And that was a big shift. Why? Because people think, oh, it's a big shift because, consumers are now paying a monthly fee to get access to all this music. Sure, that is a big deal. But one of the biggest shifts here is the royalties that are being paid out to artists. Broadcast royalties, which is what artists were paid from radio spins, are worth vastly more than on-demand royalties, which is how it's calculated under Spotify. And you have to look at this from a perspective of like, okay, yes, if even today you're able to get a song that's like number one on the radio and you get the royalties, you actually own your masters and stuff and you're collecting all the royalties, that can be a pretty decent little chunk of change. The problem is that such a high risk, low probability of reward, it's not really worth it in my opinion. I've played the radio game before and I've gotten on Billboard charts, top 20, top 30 of indicator charts and all this kind of stuff. It really doesn't yield as much as you would hope it would, especially from like tangible fans, right? So things started moving from radio over into streaming, and now we're in this situation where every person who wants to listen to music has your music for free. And that sort of takes me into the second point here, which is that music in today's era functions better as your marketing than it does your product. And here is why. Most people already have access to your music for free. If they really want to listen to you, they'll go onto Spotify and they'll listen to you, or they'll find you on YouTube. Now, you can be one of those artists that are like, I'm standing up to this system and I'm not going to put my music on Spotify. All you're doing is limiting your own reach. That's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. You know, like, no, I'm not contributing to the machine. The machine doesn't need that one person, right? But to be honest with you, artists need that place where musicians know, or not musicians, fans know that if they want to look up a musician, they can just type it in on this little Google, fundamentally of music. Oh, boom, and then they can listen to you. That's what Spotify has become. It's become the Google of music. And so you saying, I don't want to put my music on Spotify is like you saying, I don't want my business to show up on Google. It doesn't make any sense. You can agree or disagree with the ethics of how the company runs, but fundamentally, you have to use them. Now, again, you can be one of those artists that says, no, I don't have to use Dax. In fact, I'm going to use Bandcamp. I'm like, okay, well, maybe for your certain niche, that might be something that's viable. But the only people who have Bandcamp are other people that are musicians that have Bandcamp accounts, most likely. It's like the Reverb Nation problem. Reverb Nation was supposed to be this thing that, oh, fans could all see who the top bands were in their area. And then it very quickly became something that they figured out, oh, we make a majority of our money and get most of our views from other musicians and artists. So let's just start designing the tools to be for them. So you can say, I'm going to fight against that. But realistically, they're going to have access to your music for free, whether it's through Spotify, whether it's through YouTube, or some other kind of method, right? So there's no reason to gatekeep the music at this day and age. Why? Because think about what marketing is supposed to do and what music does now, and tell me they're not the same thing. Here's what I mean. Marketing is supposed to create a bond between you and your consumer. That's what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to put out the marketing. Someone consumes the marketing and they're like, wow, like this person really gets my problem or really gets what I want to hear or what I desire. And then that sort of pre-sells them so that you don't really have to be, that's the beautiful thing about being a musician or artist. You don't have to be a hardcore salesperson. Like, today I've got the most special, amazing deal for you, and if you don't take advantage of it, everything's going to explode. You know, you don't have to be one of those kind of people, because your music is the thing that goes out there and creates the bond. Your music is the thing that pre-sells fans on you, right? So you look at what music does. It's something I put out there so that the fans can connect with me. Okay, well, what is marketing? It's something I want to put out there so that fans can connect with me. Like, the way that marketing functions and the way that music functions in your music business today, they're the same thing. So music is your marketing. It is not your product. And I know if you want to go back to the days of viewing it as a product, just get in a time machine. Then you're good. Then just get in a time machine. But if you don't have that time machine, I would say it's probably time that you accept the reality that you live in, which is that music as the basis of offers, and I have personal one-on-one experience with this, not only within my own band, but I also work with hundreds of other clients over the past couple of years and seeing their data up close and personal. Music-based offers are not selling like they used to. In the late 2000 teens, you could still kind of get away with selling music-based offers. There were still people who were willing to buy that. But after COVID and everything, it's just the reality. There was a lot of weird market dynamic shifts, and now music-based offers really don't hit like they used to. And now it's gotten to the point where I don't even recommend it to my clients anymore. It's just happened enough times where we're like, maybe because of the age of this audience, maybe they'll be more likely to buy the music because of their age demographic, and it still is not working. So consumers are telling musicians, we don't want to buy music anymore. We buy it through Spotify, or we buy it through YouTube Music. Us trying to go around and basically spit in the consumer's face and say, I don't care what you want, do what I want, is not going to work. I'm telling you point blank, because frankly, some people won't tell you this. It will not work. You're trying to tell, you can't expect people to donate their time to listen to your music while you look down on them for not doing things the way you want them to do it. Sorry if I'm being kind of harsh here a little bit, but it's a kind of a harsh reality that musicians really need to come to grips with. Because if they don't come to grips with this, I've seen this firsthand, where musicians get bitter, resentful, they start hating their audience. And guess who definitely won't want to listen to your stuff now? People who you hate and express outward disgust and, just complete, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, just disgust towards. They're not going to want to support you. Are you kidding me? So we can't do this. We can't do this thing where we say, well, I wish things were a certain way. I wish I could just say, I'm a musician, therefore my product is music. It's not. It's just not. The fans are telling you it's not by their purchasing decisions. And then also just look at the other places that you generate revenue for years and years and years and years, alongside making albums. Because like I said, for years and years, albums were the number one source of profit. But gigging and the little income streams that come from gigging were a huge part of it too. So think about it like this. Are you a sellout because you got a guarantee to go perform live somewhere? No. Are you a sellout because at that show you have a t-shirt for sale? No. See, here's the thing. There's something called the Garza podcast, it's a heavy metal podcast I was scrolling through TikTok and saw. And there was this guy who had read a book from some philosopher and was pontificating on Kurt Cobain. And it's Kurt Cobain meant to be anti-consumerism, but then became the face of consumerism. And it just shows you that you could be this, you're artistically impotent because even though you speak all this, you're still selling t-shirts. You still want people to buy your t-shirt. So you're artistically impotent. I'm like, what a stuck up, over-intellectual, all theory, no real world way of looking at reality. It's absolutely ridiculous. Because here's the reality. Yes, everyone wants to get paid for what they provide, right? Now here's the thing. We don't always get to choose how that manifests. For example, a chef may say well, I'm a chef. Clearly my product is my food, right? And in a certain sense, in that business, yeah, food is not something you can digitize, right? So the analogy is not perfect, right? But think about all the other things that go into it. A chef usually can't just go set up on the side of the road and start giving people food. He has to have food permits. He's got to have a food truck with all these kind of health codes met, right? There's barriers in place, right? And so to just do the thing, we need to make income to pay for the expenses to do the thing. It's just simple math. And it's also, shocker to some people who are maybe potentially new to my channel. I am pro-commerce because I understand, and the people who follow this channel understand, commerce is not a bad thing. It's how we exchange value without having to do bare literal trading. Back in the day, it used to be okay, well, I've got 4 cows and you've got 2 pigs. Maybe we can figure out some way to trade this so it's fair. I've got my 4 cows are bigger than your 2 pigs. So maybe I give you 1 cow, you give me 2 pigs. See how stupid and complicated and subjective that is? Instead of just oh, I have something that's worth $50 numerically. It's oh, I have $50 numerically on this piece of paper. Why don't we just exchange I'll give you the paper, you give me the thing, and it's really easy. Money and commerce is just the human evolution of figuring out how to exchange value without having to do the weird calculations of a trade, right? I'm going to throw a fancy word at you. It made money fungible, meaning my $1 bill is the same as your $1 bill. But back in the day when you were trading things back and forth, your one cow and my one pig that's not a one-to-one equivalent. Our $1 are one-to-one equivalents. So people get all up in arms about all these theories they read about from philosophers who frankly are hypocrites. Because think about this. Even the person who made the book about how, oh, you can't even be artistically, you're artistically impotent because you're selling things on top of it. What did the author do? Yeah. You hear that? You hear that silence? That's painful, cruel irony. You see, hopefully I can share some of this to help break the veil that a lot of these people have over musicians, where they create products that they sell to musicians and other creatives to tell them they can't make it. Do you see the cruel, terrible, unethical irony of that? Of profiting, by making a book, profiting off of people's dismay and misery, and then telling people, you can't achieve the dream that I am now achieving by you buying my book, right? It's so hypocritical. So you have to understand, music is better served in our music business as our marketing. It's not better served as our product. And we can get have righteous indignation about the fact that music isn't the product anymore because physical media has died out and it's all been digitized. But when it comes down to it, music is better as your marketing because of the incentives. What do I mean by the incentives? This is extremely important, so be sure to listen to this. If the incentives are aligned, then music shouldn't be our product. Charlie Munger, one of the world's greatest investors, said, if you show me the incentive, I'll tell you the outcome. What is he saying? Human beings operate by incentive, right? So if the incentive is, I need to make music so that I can get paid for my music. So the direct one-to-one relationship of me earning money is by me making music, right? So what happens then? People will make music for money. And now art is diminished because people are making music for money. However, if music is not the direct way that we get paid, it's not people giving us money for the music itself, there is now no incentive financially to make music just to make money because the money is not in the music. So the only people who should be making music are the people who are incentivized to make music because they love the art. You see what I'm saying? The world that we often want and that we want to see as musicians is being held back from us by the prison of our own minds and these false propaganda narratives that have been shoved in our face for years so that we believe, no, until we can go back to the old days where, musicians were making millions of dollars selling physical media, then nothing is fair. It's like I said, as soon as you get that time machine, let me know. It'd be fun to go visit. But living in today's world, that's just not the case. The incentive right now, as it exists, is if you want to make music because you love music, right? But if you're becoming a professional musician, you still need to figure out how to monetize what you got going on so that you can have a business that can sustain itself and grow and then actually be somewhat of a foundation in your finances after a while. So how do we get to that point? What do we do? Okay, well, since music isn't the product, we have to dive into what can be our product. What can we start to sell? So you need to have a suite of offers. And what does that mean? So I could put it into 4 buckets. You need to have offers, products, things that you're selling in these 4 buckets. Okay, and if you got these 4 buckets full of offers, you've got a good start to your music business. Okay, so what does that look like? The first bucket is what we call a lead generation offer. In fancy business terms, or to simplify the fancy business terms, that means getting people to be potential supporters. A supporter is someone who will give you money in exchange for any one of your offers, right? So the point of this is to create something that's free for you to fulfill. A download, a video, an MP3 file, right? Something that you can just give to someone for free in exchange for their email, their contact information. That's why it's called lead generation. I'm generating a pool of people who are potentially going to spend money on me to support my music business, right? So you need something that you can give away, or some kind of, you can call it an ethical bribe to get them into the email list. That's what your first offer is. And by the way, you can have a suite of lead generation offers. You don't just have to have one, start with one, but you can have as many lead generation offers as you'd like. The next bucket is your core product offer. Really, you'd want to only have like one or two things in this bucket, which is like the core item that every single one of your fans needs to have if they're going to be a fan of you. So, for example, maybe make it a ritual or a routine that at every single one of your shows, the fans are supposed to wear a wristband that you sell. So it's part of the night. Okay, everyone got their wristbands on? And then the crowd puts it up and you're like, hey, if you don't have your wristband, we got them for sale at the merch table. Go pick yours up. So every show we hold these up together. This is a sign that you're in the community. Again, I'm kind of simplifying it just for time's sake. But you get the idea. You create a core offer that every single one of your fans has and shows off to the world. It's almost got this kind of ritualistic kind of air to it, where it's like, to be a part of the community, to be initiated into it, I need to get this wristband or get this hat or shirt or whatever. Your shirt could say, I went to this insert band show and the only thing I got was this crappy t-shirt or whatever. And everyone wears those and that's part of the thing. Whatever. Create some kind of core offer that creates FOMO for the fans who don't have it, where they're like, man, everyone's got these. Like, I want to be a part of the crew. So I want to get that item. Okay. So again, just have one or two of these things. Now you can see like, okay, I've got an offer to get people into my list and to have a way to contact them. I've got a core offer that every one of those people should have. What else do we have? We have two other buckets left. The second bucket is something where we try to increase the lifetime value of the customer, and one where we try to increase the increased cart value. So what does that mean? Those are like fancy business terms. What that means is the third bucket is your premium offers and your upsells. So what that means is you create some core product offer, and then you immediately go into an upsell that is higher value and higher price. Or instead of immediately going into an upsell, just a couple days later or a week later, you have another offer that's higher in price as well. And the idea of this is like, think of the logic. Okay, we took someone from, they have no idea who we are, to now they're a lead. They will potentially support us. Now we take them from potentially supporting us to supporting us with the core product offer. And then with the premium offer, we take them from supporting us to how much will they support us? Trying to increase that value that they will actually contribute to us. And then what's the last bucket? This is where we actually increase the lifetime customer value. You have something called a continuity offer, where that just means they give you money every month. Doesn't that sound good? Right? So that's something like your Patreon or your fan club, where they pay you $9 a month, $5 a month, $17 a month, or whatever. And they get access to a whole bunch of awesome features and benefits as a result of that. You think about these four offers. That is what you should be selling as a musician. Now, what goes in each of those buckets? Man, depending on the musician, there could be so many different options. I mean, really, depending on your genre, the subgenre and culture that you're in, all those things will change, right? And now, this works whether you're an independent musician or you're a musician who's trying to monetize your skills, like a guitar teacher, vocal teacher, a producer, any kind of thing like that. Same process works. You need an offer to get people's contact information so that they're leads. You need an offer that's going to convert them into a customer. You've got an offer that's going to ascend them as a customer to higher value things. And you need something that's going to take them as a customer to pay every single month, right? That is how you create a business as a musician, not by relying on CD sales, not by relying on Spotify royalties, not by relying on radio, not relying on these old, outdated methods of trying to become a professional musician. And I get it. Some people have this weird thing about it where they're like, well, I'm not a t-shirt salesman, I'm a musician. I'm like, are you trying to tell me that even your favorite musicians who sold t-shirts, they're nothing but t-shirt salesmen? Because they're doing what you're hating on. So And yeah, sure, they came up in the industry that you wish you came up in, but guess what? Sometimes you don't always get to control the cards you're dealt. You just play the best hand given the cards you're given. So as musicians, being born in this time period and being active as music entrepreneurs during this era, there's so much opportunity in front of us if we start letting go of these old, outdated ideas and start to embrace these new things. Start to embrace these new ideas that will actually make us better. Okay, so hopefully through this video, you not only have discovered why music is not the product, why music is better off as your marketing, but not only that, what kind of offers should you start to sell to your fans so that you can actually start turning this into a valid music business. Before we jump out of here, let's do an example of each of these offers to close it out. So a lead generation offer. Let's say you're a music instructor. You want to give away some exercises, some chord sheets, some tabs, right? Something that it's a PDF file, you can give them for free, boom, you've got their email. Let's say you are a producer. Maybe you've got like a mixing checklist or a pre-mix checklist, something to help them as the artist get ready for your producing skills. If you're an independent musician, you can start giving away performance videos of songs. You could start giving away MP3 downloads of unreleased music. You could start giving away not just unreleased songs, but released songs, maybe remixed, mastered, or remastered, any of those kind of things. There's tons of different things that we can do depending on what you're in business-wise as a musician. But let's look at your core product offers. Let's say you're a country musician, right? What would some of your core product offers look like? So if you were like a red dirt country guy, I'm assuming a good trucker hat is going to be a good option. Maybe something like a koozie or a bottle opener. God knows rednecks, they like to drink, right? So having stuff that'll help them get their drink on, but they got some branded material from you, always valuable as a core product offer. Let's say, you're a rock musician and you play like stoner, doom metal or something. Well, then maybe you should sell some cool rolling trays that are themed to your band or something like that. Or maybe you have grinders that have your logo on them or whatever, joint rollers. You're the stoner doom metal band, just embrace it and help your fellow stoners burn up. And then, maybe you're a Christian artist and you'd like to promote Christly values and things like that. Well, then there's products you can sell that are, sayings that you can come up with that are around maybe a certain Bible verse or a certain principle that is in the Bible, but you've just abstracted it into a phrase, right? One of the people who I've worked with, he does this and he's like fantastic at coming up with these cool one-liners to put them on like hoodies and shirts and stuff, right? But you see how each one of those products as a core product offer resonates with the ideal fan who the artist in that genre would be trying to attract. You see what I'm saying? Now let's look at premium offers, right? So a premium offer, let's say you're a music instructor, that would be something like working with you for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months in an intense regimented program, and it's like $2,000 or something, right? Same with a producer. Maybe you're going to mix their next 5 songs for $500 a mix, and it's going to be a $2,500 package. Maybe you're a professional, you're a musician, independent musician, and you want to put together a VIP ticket for your next gig for your local following. Maybe you want to create a sort of behind the scenes listening party or something where people have to pay to attend this listening party that's going to have guests and performances and all kinds of stuff. There's plenty. Maybe you can sell a broken cymbal for $75 to $100, because your drummer hits way too hard. My drummer. And so we've always got cymbals for sale because it's like, dude, this is a brand new cymbal. How did you do this? This is an A custom. He's like, I don't know, man. I just get into it and it just happens. So maybe you're selling, cymbals, beat up guitars, or maybe you can put together some kind of cool bundle that costs $75 to $100. So you can see there's all kinds of premium options that you can offer. And then continuity. This one is pretty straightforward, hopefully. So if you're an independent musician, you've got your Patreon or your fan club. They're paying you $5 to $20 to $30 a month, depending on how much you want to give them, to have access to your fan club, right? So you're getting paid every single month. Let's say you're a music instructor. Well, you can offer monthly lessons, right? So they have a saved spot every week to work with you, and that they have a monthly fee that comes with having their spot saved every week, right? So they pay monthly. Boom, you've got a continuity offer as a music instructor. Let's say you're a producer. Well, you can get put on retainer so that you guys are scheduled to go back in the studio every 6 months, right? Or, every time they come and work with you, they work with you in batches of 2 or 3 songs, and it happens every 5 months apart. And you just kind of schedule that out with the artist to what their recording goals are and what your schedule allows. And that could be something where, again, depending on what you charge per mix, that could be thousands of dollars. But you could also set it up to where if you want to give them some lower, what's the word I'm looking for? Lower risk, lower skin in the game a little bit, you can create like a monthly retainer fee that will deduct from their mixes. So for example, if it's $500 a mix, you can get put on retainer where they pay you $50 a month, but every $50 a month they pay you goes towards their next mix. So when they show up, boom, now they're like, okay, you've been paying me for the last 4 months, so that's $200. It's $500 a mix, so all you owe this time is $300. You see what I'm saying? Why would you do that? Because now instead of having to wait to get paid, potentially maybe if they come back at this moment, you can get paid, and now they're committed to coming back because now they're already prepaying for mixes they haven't even got yet. So they want to get what they're already paying into, so that gives them more likelihood to want to fulfill. So hopefully these ideas are getting you guys all thinking about what are the things I can sell now based on getting people into my email list, what are the lead generation offers you can create, what are the core product offers you can create that kind of FOMO and community identity building around your brand. What are the premium offers, the things that are a little bit more expensive that you can sell to help increase your margin? And then what are the continuity offers, the things that are going to bring monthly recurring revenue to your music business? And if you start thinking about that and how you can start providing those things for your fans based off what they desire, you're going to actually start to build a music business that does well, as opposed to wishing, hoping, and praying that, oh no, I hope one day the music business changes to be how it used to be back in the good old days, back when musicians made a bunch of money but were also slaves to these crazy contracts that nobody should have ever signed. Yeah, we tend to downplay the negatives of that era and upplay the positives, but whatever, that's for another day. Hopefully you guys have gotten a ton of value from this video. If you have, hit the subscribe button, the notification button, leave a comment, all that kind of good YouTube-y stuff. And if you'd like some one-on-one help creating your lead generation offers, your core product offers, all that kind of stuff, and building the systems to have direct marketing to your fans inside of your music business, click the link that's in the description to apply for a free one-on-one coaching call. It's just to see if it maybe be a good fit for us to help you out with your music business and you get to walk away with a cool kind of game plan for your music business. So thank you guys for checking this out. I look forward to seeing you on another video inside of Musicians Ignite. Take care.